Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Steven and welcome back. Alright, so the video I did about the John Mayer Nicki Minaj situation really got me thinking about a couple of things that I want to just present in this video and possibly present my opinions on them and as well get your opinions on. But basically, the topic is, white faves and having a white fave, right? A white favorite. And what I mean by white fave or white favorite is a white person who's perhaps your favorite celebrity, your favorite musical artist, your favorite actor or actress, your favorite athlete, etc. A white person who's your favorite of something that you're interested in, right? And it got me thinking because I know there are probably at least a few black women who consider John Mayer to be their, white fave, right? And I don't hold that against them before the 2010 Playboy interview, right? If they like John Mayer, they like John Mayer at that point, right? But once the information came out, then it, would have me kind of giving them a side eye, right? So kind of like if they still considered this dude, John Mayer, to be their white fave, right? I would kind of be giving them the side eye, like, well, don't you know about the 2010 interview he did with Playboy magazine where he said this, that, and the third about black women, right? So where I'm coming from is kind of like, well, like me personally, and also before I really go further in this video, I debated for a while whether or not to do this video. Like primarily because sometimes we consider white people a bit too much in our conversations. And it's understandable to an extent because of, how racism and white supremacy does affect our lives, even our day-to-day lives. So it's understandable, but it kind of made me hesitate on making this video. But I do think perhaps this is something that, while I don't think it is, a super urgent issue to address, I think we can address it though. We can have some conversations about it, right? All right. So for me, I definitely have at least, I'll say at least one white fave, right? At least one, maybe two, maybe two. But I'll say definitely at least one, right? And I won't say who my white fave is, okay? My white fave will remain a mystery, at least for the time being, all right? But if my white fave had said some things that John Mayer said, I would be kind of feeling some type of a way about it because I have supported my fave, and I do like my favorite white celebrity, right? And if this had happened and it involved my favorite white celebrity, I would be feeling some type of a way. I would be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised in a way. Like yes and no, right? Yes and no. I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised. Um, you know, my fave has been pretty good at staying out of like this type of stuff. They've been pretty good about that. They haven't been caught up in any type of like scandal yet, like this, right? you know. But one of the questions is, okay, what if you have a white fave? Is having a white fave in itself problematic if you are, consider yourself woke? so to speak. Is it problematic? I, you know, I can understand why some people may consider it problematic, but I don't think it totally is, though. Not as much as perhaps having like a white partner or even a white friend. I don't think it's as problematic as those two things. But some people can make an argument, and perhaps they'll have valid arguments on that. But I don't think it's that. I don't think it's extremely problematic, right? Because you can drop your fave. It's easier to drop your favorite celebrity who's white versus your favorite friend or even your favorite or your partner who's white, right? It's easy. It's much easier, right? You can clear the slate and pretend like it never happened with your white fave, but with your friends and possibly, with your partner, definitely, but with your friends, possibly as well, as probably might be a little tough, you know. But for me, I guess when I quote unquote came to consciousness or became woke, I didn't drop my white fave because it wasn't necessarily like a point blank reason to, other than my white fave just being white, which it could be, which is a valid, it could be actually a valid reason to drop your fave if you become woke, quote unquote. But they haven't really had any issues concerning like race and being racially insensitive or being racist or bigoted or things like that. Thankfully, they've been able to avoid situations like that, right? They weren't so far so good. They've never been caught up in situations like this, right? Yeah. And as well, I do individualize my white favorite, right? Which I think it's good to know how to individualize and to generalize. Because I think white people know how to do it when it comes to us, but sometimes I don't think we know how to do it when it comes to them. Like when it's between us and them, I don't think we know how to do that. I think they know how to do it much better than we do. But I also feel like this situation could extend to also, black people who have black favorites, favorite celebrities who perhaps are like maybe borderline sellouts or coons or have done things that are problematic. We could use Nicki Minaj as an example, right? I know there's some black folks who may have Nicki Minaj as their favorite, you know, and they could feel some type of a way about some of the things that she's done involving race. And I think one point that we should talk about is like, suppose if your white favorite does do something that is considered, racially insensitive, bigoted, racist, white supremacist, like, etc., right? Do they have an opportunity to redeem themselves, or are they totally canceled? Me personally, it would depend on the situation. Honestly, I think that's a case by case it's on a case by case basis, right? Because some things you can kind of come back from, and some things I don't think you can come back from, honestly. Just like in any relationship or dynamic, some things you can say and you can take them back. Some things you cannot take back after you've said them. Let's be honest. Like some things you can't take back. Once it's out there, right? So I think it kind of depends on the situation. So it's like a case by case basis. Sometimes some white people, perhaps may legitimately just be ignorant about some things, as many white people are when it comes to race, Even though we can't make the argument that white people aren't as ignorant as they may seem, which that isn't a valid argument. And I think this is possibly one of the reasons why I hesitated to make this video, just because it can kind of like, I try not to be like, I think white people are kind of cut a bit too much slack as it is, and I think to an extent it may come off as if I'm trying to cut white people some slack, you know, which I'm not trying to cut folks some slack, but at least kind of like be fair. Which even then, I'm like, do white people deserve fairness considering all that has happened, right? But I'll say on an individual basis, perhaps. You know, depending on if you really, depending on the situation, perhaps, maybe, at least on an individual basis. As a collective, I'll say no. All right. So what if your white fave says something that is, you know, racially insensitive, bigoted, racist, white supremacist, etc., right? Did it get canceled? Perhaps, perhaps not. It depends on what they said, right? What if they make an apology for it that you consider, you know, a really good apology and consider it sincere, right? Could they come back? I guess it depends on what they did. What if they really do, you know, look, you know, sincerely, truly want to make amends and try to make amends? Because I really felt like John Mayer, he had an opportunity to really make amends. Like, him being in the position that he's in as a somewhat prominent white male, he could have actually redeemed himself. When's the last time John Mayer even posted or tweeted Black Lives Matter? I'm pretty sure he hasn't, right? He could have really tried to redeem himself and say, you know what? I sincerely apologize to the black community, especially black women, for my racially insensitive comments. You know, it was coming from a place of extreme ignorance to the history of the United States, right? But I have educated myself, or I have been educated, and from this point forward, you will see a different side of me, and I will do better, and I will definitely be on the front lines to support black issues, especially black issues that affect black women. And if he actually followed through with that, I think perhaps some people might be willing to cut him some slack, right? If they felt it was sincere, you know, they would perhaps be willing to cut him some slack. But the thing is, though, I don't really think white people as a whole are willing, definitely as a whole, no, right? White people will give you like a little bit of something, something as far as an apology and expect you to be okay with that, right? And I can't do nothing with a little something, something of an apology. We don't need more. We don't need you to do some more work than just that little apology. You're going to have to put in some work if you want to get back in the good graces of black folks. But yeah, as a collective, no, I don't think, like, white people, they tend to stay on code, right? Even when called out, you know, for their fuckery, they tend to stay on code, right? They're not gonna throw other white folks under the bus like that, right? Not like that. You won't see that much, right? Not that much. They'll throw other black folks under the bus. They'll probably bring up, oh, well, you know, black folks be saying this, that, and the third. You know, they'll do something like that to bring it and put it on black people, right? On an individual basis, perhaps, I guess, maybe it's an option, but even still, I don't really see that happening, though. Because, again, I think white people tend to just stay on code. They tend to not want to challenge an infrastructure in a system that they benefit from. I mean, come on, John Mayer is is like the primary beneficiary of racism. Come on now. Do you think he's really going to challenge that just to make amends to his black female fan base, or black females in general, black people in general? No, no. And I think at this point, I think the black women who supported John Mayer are left with basically two options: either to continue supporting him or to stop supporting him. Right? I think, me personally, I think they should not be supporting him. But I'm pretty sure there's probably at least a few black women who still are supporting him, and probably actually those black women may have some like coon tendencies themselves, honestly, and may feel like, oh, he ain't referring to me. I look like Karen Parson. Oh, I look like Kerry Washington. Oh, I look like Holly Robinson Pete, so he can't be talking about me. He wants me. All right. Some black women, while I do think that's the extreme minority, there's probably at least a couple black women thinking like that. All right. Let's be honest. But overall, to sum up this video, I think as far as like whether to drop your white fave or not when these type of situations come up, again, I think it's a case-by-case basis. If I had to choose one answer, one answer, one fits all solution type of thing, I would choose drop your white favorite, as a rule of thumb. But, again, it kind of does depend on the situation, because honestly, I think it's some things perhaps you kind of can come back from and can learn from and can become a better white person from if they really choose to do that, which I think primarily no, but perhaps there's one, perhaps maybe you're supporting that one good white person. All right, maybe that one good white person, perhaps. For me personally, if my white fave got caught up in some situation like this, I don't know. If it put my white fave in the position of John Mayer, they would have to make a really good apology and also really put in some work after the apology. And I don't know if they would do that, honestly, if they said some stuff like this. I could be wrong, but I just don't see that happening. So I probably would just back away, and sort of just phase my white fave out. Hopefully hopefully we don't have to come to that point, right? Hopefully, but just in case we do, you got to know what to do in these situations. And this extends to a lot of other situations besides just having a favorite white celebrity, right? White friends, white partners, white family members even. Some people have white family members who ain't doing them no good, and who have these type of racist leanings, But yeah, me personally, I would be disappointed. I would be disappointed and feel some type of way just because, I have supported my white fave through thick and thin, when my white fave was going through situations, I didn't jump off the bandwagon. A lot of folks did, but I didn't jump off the bandwagon. All right, I stayed on and thugged it out, and things got better. Right, so yeah, I would kind of feel some type of way about that. I would. But hopefully, perhaps that situation just won't ever happen. Perhaps. But if it does, hey, we got to know when to cut it, right? We got to know when to cut our losses and just move forward, right? So, you know, to the black women who may have supported John Mayer, you know, um, but who no longer support John Mayer, I would say good job to you. You know, that it's, you know, that's great that you were able to do that. You know, and I'm sorry that things ended like this. You know, that you know, perhaps supported someone who you know, come to turn around and find out have, you know, these very racist, low, not even low key, but racist white supremacist leanings, you know. But yeah, let me bring this video to a close now. Thanks for watching, you guys. Feel free to comment. Definitely appreciate the feedback and the interaction. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.